And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Episcopal Class of 2020 Salutatorian, Adam Reed.
Our school year has finally ended, and with it, the high school careers of 100 newly graduated alumni. Exciting changes are coming for everyone, but for now, we've done it. For all of us, alumni, parents, faculty, this day has been a long time coming. Please feel free to listen and to hear me for the next few minutes. To parents and families, if you're anything like mine, I'm sure you're proud your child has made it this far. I can imagine it feels like a tremendous weight has been lifted from your shoulders. So please sit up and sit tight. I think I speak for all alumni as I say this. Thank you for our childhood. To our faculty, for now, you should rest up. Soon, you'll get to experience the senior class of 2021. If my experience means anything, you're in for quite the ride. The class of 2020 thanks you. And for all rising seniors, get ready. College applications are on the way. Class of 2020, this is it. This is the year we are finally released from the bounds of childhood into the loving embrace of society. The year we began carrying the weight of the biggest decisions of our lives thus far. The year where anything seems possible, where anything can happen beyond even our wildest dreams. 2020, it has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Lately, I've been thinking about a story I read. It goes something like this. There was a man who lived alone. To passerby, he was quite wealthy. Every day, from morning until night, he worked. He would retire soon, and he was content with his life. One day, he was injured on the job. A freak accident. He became paralyzed. Immediately, he was moved into a nursing home. On the wall of his room, there was an acrylic of an island. It was a stunning, iridescent tropical island marked by a volcano in its center. The island was Hawaii. Before he fell asleep each night, he stared up at the painting and he said to himself, "That's where I was headed." I hate stories like that. Stories that remind me of myself and others blinded by reality. People so caught up in their own circumstances that they lose sight of where they're trying to go. No matter our hopes and dreams, we all have some burden to carry. It's not something others can influence. It's something that feeds on fear and neglect. It's not something that can be inherited or weaponized. It's self-inflicted. I'm not talking about any physical or mental constraints or other factors outside our control. I'm talking about regret. With 2020 came new resolutions and new hopes for change. But even before the pandemic, many of us lived our lives on autopilot. As with every year, with our attitudes kept unchecked, our ambitions morphed into excuses for respite. Now, we're at a time and in a place where dreams come true. Plans are being postponed, lives are on hold, normality is out of the question. And now, many are taking the time to lose touch with themselves, their aspirations, and the situation at hand. It seems only when they're at the end of this crisis, seeing in the mirror what little ground they've covered, will they realize how badly they've impeded themselves with the decisions they made. Even before the pandemic, we claimed we were busy making progress on our journeys, but too often, instead of using our time to chase meaningful goals, we'd lived our lives as a means to an end. We'd kidded ourselves into a life lock, cramming our calendars with classes, conferences, and extracurriculars. With whatever time was left, we spent mindlessly consuming and comparing and critiquing other people's lives, pretending we were there with them, living their dreams. Only when we'd run out of time would we look back and remember our true past, frantically searching for proof we had been alive. Let's remember my story for a moment. We left a man thinking about what he lost. Such a sad story, a real tearjerker. It's easy to think he was a victim of circumstance, but in fact, he was far from it. The man said he was headed for the island, but he never did. Why didn't he? Well, he lived alone, so there was no one to hold him back. And he had all the wealth he could ever ask for, so it was never an issue of opportunity. But the man became a victim of his own conviction. The man never understood that things can change, that what's given today may not be tomorrow, that life happens. That he might want to change his attitude, that he might want to stop lying to himself. Paralysis or not, that man was never going to his island. The paralysis for him was an excuse. During this pandemic, how can we pretend things are getting better outside when on a daily basis we're reminded of the 100,000 countrymen who succumbed at our hands? How can we pretend things are getting better when we can't even decide how many people have been affected after they've been tested? How can we ask ourselves why the world crumbles around us after so many of us sit around, declare ourselves blameless, and proceed to waste our lives? If only we could look back at ourselves before the pandemic, the answer would become quite clear. We cannot let this crisis be our excuse. Starting now, we need to define meaningful goals, and we must chase them because everything is at stake. We cannot let this crisis be our excuse. There has to be a new normal. We have to restructure our lives. We cannot let this crisis be our excuse, but we must count our blessings, and we must reconcile with ourselves. For the first time in generations, humanity is burdened with saving our species. Our class, the class of 2020, has experienced the full force of these efforts. We've had to sacrifice our traditions, our trips, and our graduation ceremonies. Even still, as the world forever changes around us, we carry our weight. The fighters on the front lines, putting their lives at risk, carry their weight. Everyone, by helping to curb the spread, they carry their weight. And we will succeed. We will conquer this virus. We will do it not because it's an impossible task, but because it's necessary. We will reach our island paradise. And down the road, a new normal will slowly emerge. I want everyone who hears me to understand this. No matter the road we choose, we will forever carry the weight of the decisions we make. As we move on to the next phase of our lives, we must be mindful of our limited time together. I'm here to tell you this: go chase your opportunities now. Find something, someone real to live for, and go pursue that thing or that person for the rest of your life. Don't wait for things to get easier. Find what you enjoy doing and do it. Don't say you will do it later on. Find something you want and make it your priority. Don't make excuses. And most importantly, enjoy the detours in life. Because no matter the road we take, we're going to carry that weight together. See you, class of 2020.